Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutarashata Shishimar Bhakti Viranta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutarashata Shishimar Bhakti Viranta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutarashata Shishimar Bhakti Viranta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shri Gorkshodas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Anugaurya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Nam Acharya Shri Hari Das Thakur ki jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Harina Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hari Bol, everybody. Sorry, my voice is a little bit different. Yeah, I'm finally starting to feel better. I got pretty sick after Gaur Purnima, but since yesterday I've been on the mend. So yeah, Dandavat Pranams Indira Mataji. I'm a bit spacey right now though, just letting you know. So I had an idea. I have to see how many days it would take. I don't think it would take too long, but I was thinking if we could just get a brief summary of the entire 10th canto. If it takes more than a few days, then I don't really want to do it, but today I'll check out to this book, Bhāgavata-pravāha, and see how many sections. We'll see how far we get today, and then I'll have some idea of how many days it will take to get through the whole summary of the 10th canto from Bhāgavata-pravāha. And if it's not too long, then yeah, we can. I think it'd be nice to just get a full recap of the entire 10th canto before we move on to the 11th canto. And actually, just this morning, Sajan Maharaj came to my room, and he was glorifying the Krishna book to me. And then I thought, I wonder if it would be nice to read the Krishna book in the evening time. Like I can read from the 11th canto in the morning, and then in the evening read from the Krishna book. But I don't know if I'm actually going to do that. It's just an idea that came to my head after he left my room just now. Anyhow, I'll let you know what I end up planning to do. But yeah, so I'm going to just jump right into this Bhāgavata-pravāha. All right, where are we? Canto 10. Let me know if like my different voice right now is really annoying. My voice sounded even worse this morning, but I cleared out a lot of stuff, and now it's not sounding as bad as it did this morning even. The 10th canto of the Bhagavad. So this is a summary written by a devotee named Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. Yeah, he wrote this summary. The 10th canto of the Bhagavatam represents the beautiful lotus face of Lord Krishna and comprehensively describes the topic of ashray, or the supreme shelter of Sri Krishna. Shukadev Goswami ecstatically describes in this longest canto the appearance and pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, Hastinapur, and other places. Krishna's unlimited transcendental attributes, his amazing reciprocations with the love of his devotees, and his compassionate deliverance of those who are inimical to him, as described in this canto, are the worthiest subject matters for one's contemplation. They constitute the most precious gift for the devotees to absorb themselves in Lord Krishna's glories. Okay, so now we begin. Hearing in brief about Lord Krishna's pastimes, Parikshit requested Shukadev Goswami to further elaborate the Lord's nectarian pastimes. Shukadev narrated, once, Mother Earth, being overburdened by demoniac forces, took the form of a cow and approached Lord Brahma. Brahma took her and the demigods to the shore of the milk ocean and chanted the Purusha Sukta prayers to please Lord Vishnu. Vishnu pointed out to Brahma in trance that he would soon descend to the earth and ordered the demigods to appear in the Yadu and Vrishni dynasties. Once again, okay, Indira Mataji, great. Hare Krishna Shasharmaji and Raseshwari Mataji, Hari Bol. I forgot to check if my mic is connected. Yes, it is. Great. When power overpowers love. Kamsa, the son of the Bhoja king Ugrasen, was lovingly driving the chariot of his newly wedded sister Devaki and her husband Vasudeva of the Yadu dynasty. Suddenly, a celestial voice warned Kamsa, "You fool, the eighth child of this woman will kill you." Sinful Kamsa immediately took up his sword to chop off Devaki's head. But Vasudeva stopped Kamsa and tried to pacify him with logic and philosophy. Seeing the unrelenting persistence of evil Kamsa to kill Devaki, Vasudeva promised to hand over Devaki's babies to Kamsa immediately after their birth. Kamsa trusted Vasudeva, known for his integrity, and thus spared Devaki's life. Eventually, when Devaki gave birth to a son, Vasudeva took him to Kamsa. Pleased with Vasudeva's righteousness, Kamsa returned the child. Thereafter, Narad Muni approached Kamsa and bewildered him, saying that any of Devaki's children could be the cause of Kamsa's death. Narad did this only to expedite Lord Krishna's appearance. Now insecure, Kamsa killed the son of Devaki and Vasudeva and imprisoned them. Mercilessly, he killed 6 sons of Devaki year after year. He became an enemy of the Yadus and even imprisoned his own father Ugrasen to secure his position. Birth of the Unborn. In the 7th pregnancy, Lord Ananta, Balaram, entered the womb of Devaki. Upon Lord Vishnu's order, Yogamaya transferred that child to the womb of Rohini, another wife of Vasudeva, and Devaki's 7th pregnancy was believed to be a miscarriage. Thereafter, the primeval Lord Krishna entered the noble Vasudeva's mind, and then into Devaki's mind. Various demigods arrived at the prison cell of Kamsa and offered their prayers to the Lord in Devaki's womb. Eventually, the Supreme Lord made his auspicious appearance in a beautiful 4-handed form. Vasudeva and Devaki fervently offered their prayers to the Lord in the mood of devotees, and expressed their concern for their son's safety in the mood of parents. Reciprocating with their love, the Lord transformed into a small child and inspired Vasudeva to take him to Gokul. Vasudeva was ready to do so, despite his promise to kill Kamsa. By the will of the Lord, the doorkeepers of the prison fell asleep. The doors mystically opened, and Lord Ananta came to protect Vasudeva with his expanded hoods. As Vasudeva carried baby Krishna, river Yamuna parted to give him way to cross. At Gokul, he entered the palace of Nanda Maharaj and kept baby Krishna next to sleeping Yashoda and took her newborn daughter, returning back to Kamsa's prison all in the dead of night. Upon learning the birth of the 8th child, Kamsa arrived swiftly and ruthlessly tried to smash the baby girl on a stone slab, despite Devaki's piteous appeals. The child, however, slipped from his hands and appeared in the sky with 8 arms holding celestial weapons. She was Yogamaya herself. Rebuking Kamsa, she said, "What is the use of killing me? The Lord who is going to kill you is already born elsewhere." Is it true that it was Yogamaya? I thought it was Kankali. Anyways, um, I didn't realize that I thought she didn't manifest herself as Yogamaya. Anyways, maybe I don't know. That's a tech detail. So she said, the Lord who is going to kill you is already born elsewhere. And then she disappeared. Kamsa was astonished beyond wits. He realized Vasudeva and Devaki. He released Vasudeva and Devaki and fell at their feet, begging forgiveness. Noble-minded Devaki and Vasudeva, who saw the hands of the Lord in everything, gave up their anger towards Kamsa. Kamsa's mind, however, was soon polluted by his ministers, who advised him to kill all the children who were born within the last 10 days. They flattered Kamsa with deceptive praises and they proposed the killing of Brahmins and cows, and thus stopping all sacrifices for Vishnu. Heeding to their evil plans, foolish Kamsa ordered them to persecute saintly persons, and his wicked followers did so. A celebration and a caution. At Gokul, Nanda Maharaj pompously celebrated the birth of his son. This event was called Nandotsav. He gave 2 million decorated cows and 7 hills of grains and charity to the Brahmins. The entirety of Raj was decorated with festoons, flags, garlands, and mango leaves. The Gopas and the Gopis of the cowherd community dressed themselves gorgeously to celebrate the grand festival. Rohini, who was then staying at Nanda's house, also decorated herself and participated in the festivities by receiving the guests. After the Nandotsav festivities, Nanda Maharaj went to Mathura to pay taxes to King Kamsa. Upon getting the news of Nanda's arrival at Mathura, Vasudeva went to meet him and inquired about the well-being of his sons. Being aware of the evil plans of cruel Kamsa, Vasudeva warned Nanda, who immediately set out to return. The witch who became a mother. In the absence of Nanda Maharaj, a demoness named Putana entered Gokul, instigated by Kamsa. Disguising herself as a beautiful woman, she attracted the attention and won the trust of all the Vrajvasis. She then entered the inner chambers of Nanda's house. Smearing her breasts with fierce poison, Putana took infant Krishna on her lap and started feeding him her poisonous milk. The Supreme Lord Krishna eagerly sucked her milk along with the poison, and then her very life heirs. Unable to tolerate the acute pain, Putana loudly wailed and ran out of the house. Assuming her original gigantic and ghastly form as a witch, she collapsed, crushing all the trees under her 12-mile-long body. Seeing this unusual incident, the gopis were terrified. The gopis picked up baby Krishna, who was unharmed and playing happily on the body of the Rakshasi. Yashoda and Rohini were totally shocked to do anything. The other gopis, who were also bound by maternal affection for Krishna, did various rituals and chanted mantras to invoke the protection of Lord Vishnu on the baby. The Vrajvasis then cut the body of Putana and burned it with wood. The burning body of Putana emanated a sweet fragrance due to its being purified by Krishna's touch. Because she offered her milk to Krishna, although poisoned, Krishna nonetheless gave her the position of being a motherly nurse in the spiritual world. Krishna accepted Putana's motherly attire and actions, overlooking her wicked intentions. Who else could be more merciful than Krishna? Oh, Dandavat Pranams, Maharaj. I was just mentioning you were talking about the tenth canto. Oh, sorry, the Krishna book. I'm considering reading the Krishna book in the evenings after you left my room just now. When Krishna was 3 months old, one day, he attempted to rise and turn around on his own. This stage of child's growth is celebrated by the parents as the Uttana Ceremony. So, Mother Yashoda conducted a bathing ceremony for Krishna. During the event, seeing Krishna sleepy, Yashoda made him lie down on a bed under a household cart. She then became busy in attending to the guests. After a while, Krishna woke up and began to cry for his mother's attention, and, as is common for infants, he threw his legs upward. When Krishna's tender foot touched the cart, it immediately broke and was dismantled, making a huge sound, astonishing everyone. Yashoda hastily picked up the child, and Nanda had the Brahmins chant Vedic mantras for Krishna's safety. Actually, a ghostly demon named Utkacha had entered the cart, the Shakat, and had wanted to kill Krishna by falling upon him. Krishna, however, effortlessly delivered him with a gesture of an infant throwing his legs into the air while crying for mother's attention. An exciting flight. When Krishna was a year old, one day, his mother Yashoda lovingly patted him as he sat in her lap. Suddenly, she felt that Krishna had become heavy, like a mountain. Unable to hold him any longer, she placed him on the ground. At that time, a demoniac associate of Kamsa named Trinavarta arrived in the form of a whirlwind and lifted Krishna, who had become as light as a feather. Sorry, that demon, the whirlwind's demon Trinavarta, lifted Krishna, who had become as light as a feather, to facilitate his kidnap. For a while, the entirety of Gokul was overcast with dense darkness from the dust storm. Sorry, guys, I'm having a hard time reading. It became covered with immense darkness by the dust storm, covering everyone's vision. Unable to find Krishna next to her, Yashoda fell down and lamented like a cow that had lost her calf. Sorry, Yashoda fell down and lamented like a cow that had lost her calf. Meanwhile, Trinavarta took baby Krishna 800,000 miles high in the sky. Krishna suddenly became as heavy as a mountain, and the demon couldn't bear his weight or even throw him down. As Krishna was holding Trinavarta's throat tightly with his tender grip, he looked like a beautiful sapphire locket hanging from his neck. Becoming utterly helpless, he crashed down on a big boulder in Vraj, along with Krishna, right next to the lamenting gopis. As a result, all of Trinavarta's limbs got dislocated, but Krishna, unharmed, was happily playing on his chest. The gopis anxiously approached the demon's dead body and picked up Krishna. Seeing the wonder child, the Vrajvasis were astonished. This, however, only increased their affection for Krishna, whose safety they considered to be the result of their own pious acts. Similarly, one day when Mother Yashoda was feeding her milk to Krishna, he yawned, and Yashoda saw the entire universe within his mouth. Her heart began to throb, and in astonishment, her heart began to throb in astonishment, and she closed her eyes. But even then, Krishna's godhood could not impress her. Couldn't impress upon her. Okay. Instead of becoming awestruck and reverential, she started loving Krishna even more. She became worried that he was haunted by ghosts and had all sorts of rituals performed. The Naughty Almighty. One day, Garga Muni, being sent by Vasudev, came to Nanda Maharaja's house and conducted the naming ceremony of the two babies secretly in a cowshed so as to not raise Kamsa's suspicion. He named the son of Rohini as Ram, one who gives happiness to everyone, Bala, one who has extraordinary strength, and Sankarshan, one who united the two families of the Yadav dynasty. Naming the all-attractive younger child as Krishna, he said, "Previously, this boy appeared as the son of Vasudeva. He has many names and many forms. He will increase the bliss of the cowherd community and will protect all people. He is exactly like Narayan, so raise him with special care." After a short time, Balaram and Krishna began to crawl with their hands and knees in the muddy places of Raj, created by cow dung and cow urine. Dressed in dirt, the two babies looked immaculately beautiful, causing unparalleled bliss to their mothers, Yashoda and Rohini. Sometimes Krishna would catch a calf's tails, and the frightened calf would run, dragging him here and there. Seeing this, all the motherly gopis would laugh. Yashoda and Rohini were continuously in anxiety, trying to protect their restless babies from knives, monkeys, cows, and so on. Soon enough, Balaram and Krishna started walking. They would play with other children and enter the houses of gopis to do all kinds of naughty pranks. The gopis, who were in fact entranced by those activities, would still come to Mother Yashoda to complain against Krishna. "Your son releases our calves before we milk the cows, and no milk is left for our households. He devises various means to steal our tasty curd, butter, and milk, and he distributes them to the monkeys. If he doesn't find butter in our houses, he agitates our small babies by pinching them. If we hang our pots high on the ceiling, he makes holes in them by throwing stones. When we catch him, he says that we are thieves. Sometimes he becomes angry and passes urine and stool in our clean houses." One day, Krishna's playmates, along with Balaram, complained to Mother Yashoda that Krishna had eaten dirt. Yashoda became worried and asked Krishna to open his mouth. And when he did so, Yashoda saw the entire universe within the belly of her little son. Yashoda was astonished and thought, "Is this a dream? Am I in mental derangement?" But inspired by Yogamaya, Yashoda then discarded her vision as an illusion and took Lord Krishna onto her lap with increased motherly affection. Haribo Sudevi Didi, Dandavat Pranam. Bound by love. Hearing the unparalleled affection of Mother Yashoda, Parikshit asked Shukadeva Goswami, "What pious activities did Nanda and Yashoda do to achieve this perfection in their parental affection? Comparatively, their position is superior to Vasudeva and Devaki, who couldn't enjoy Krishna's childhood pastimes." Shukadeva Goswami replied, Once Drona, the best of Vasus, and his wife Dhara requested Lord Brahma to permit them to be born on the earth and have the Supreme Lord as their child. Brahma granted their request. Thus, Dhara and Drona appeared as Yashoda and Nanda. Subsequently, Krishna and Balaram appeared in Vrindavan and increased their pleasure. In fact, Yashoda and Nanda are the eternal parents of Krishna, while Dhara and Drona performed sadhan and merged with them to experience loving affection for Krishna. While Yashoda and Nanda were Nitya Siddhas, or eternally perfect associates of the Lord, Dhara and Drona were Sadhan Siddhas, or those who attained perfection by spiritual practices. To extol the glory of Yashoda's motherly love for Krishna, which was eternal and was not a result of some sadhan, Shukadeva Goswami narrated the amazing pastime called the Damodar Lila, or Dambandhan Lila, the epitome of all of the Vatsalya pastimes of Krishna. One day, early in the morning, Yashoda was churning yogurt while singing the childhood activities of her darling child. Krishna then woke up and stopped Yashoda's churning and sat on her lap when she lovingly started feeding him milk. Suddenly, she heard the sounds of boiling milk spilling over in the kitchen. She immediately kept Krishna aside and ran into the kitchen. Krishna became angry and broke a pot, stole the butter, and started feeding it to the monkeys. Upon returning from the kitchen, Yashoda found the broken pot and baby Krishna's lotus footprints escaping the scene. She started searching for Krishna with bittersweet anger. Finding him feeding the monkeys, she silently came with a stick from behind to teach him a good lesson. Krishna, however, ran away in fear while crying. After a long chase, Yashoda finally caught her son, chastised him, and decided to bind him to a wooden grinding mortar. Her ropes, however, kept falling short by 2 fingers despite her joining several ropes together. Seeing his mother's desperate endeavor to serve him, Krishna became merciful, and Yashoda could finally bind him. In his bound condition, Krishna saw 2 tall Arjuna trees in his backyard. He dragged the grinding mortar between them and caused them to fall down, making a tumultuous sound. These trees were actually the sons of Kuvera, namely Nalukuvar and Manigriva, who had been cursed by Narad Muni to become trees. In the past, they had been bathing with some girls in the Mandakini Ganga when Narad Muni was passing from there. Seeing their degraded condition, being victims of wine and women, Narad mercifully cursed them to become trees in Vrindavan and thus enabled them to witness Krishna's childhood activities in Nanda's courtyard. Now, by Krishna's grace, they regained their original forms and offered prayers to Krishna. O Lord, hereafter we will describe your pastimes with our words, perform devotional activities with our hands and legs, think of your lotus feet within our minds, offer obeisances to you with our heads, and see your pure devotees with our eyes. One day, a fruit vendor came to Krishna's house. Krishna ran quickly to her with some grains in his little hands, but by the time he reached her, most of the grains had fallen out. Enchanted by his beauty, the fruit vendor lovingly filled Krishna's hands with many fruits. As a result of her selfless loving service to Krishna, her basket was instantly filled with many jewels and gold. Disturbances despite relocation. The disturbances in Gokul due to Putana, the cart Shakatasura, Trinavarta, and Arjuna trees, all this alarmed the elderly cowherdmen, especially concerned about Krishna's safety. They all had a meeting and considered it wise to leave Gokul for Vrindavan. After relocating to Vrindavan, 3-year-old Krishna was given the charge of tending the calves. One day, as the little gopas were tending calves in the forest, a demon named Vatsasura arrives there in the form of a calf, desiring to kill Krishna and Balaram. Krishna noticed it and pointed it to Balaram. He then slowly approached the calf demon, caught his hind legs and tail, and twirled him very strongly until the demon was dead and threw him onto the top of a kapita tree. When the kapita fruits fell down, all the gopis enjoyed them. Another time, the gopas came near a lake to drink water. There, they saw a gigantic bird resembling a mountain peak and became afraid. It was Bakasura, the crane demon, who then immediately swallowed Krishna. Seeing this, Balaram and the other boys were aghast and fell unconscious. However, within the mouth of Bakasura, Krishna became like fire, burning the demon's throat. Unable to tolerate the heat, Bakasura immediately ejected Krishna. Seeing Krishna unharmed, Bakasura again attacked Krishna with his sharp beak. Little Krishna then caught his beak and effortlessly bifurcated it, just as a small child splits a blade of grass. The Snake Cave. One day, Krishna decided to take his breakfast as a picnic. Let me just check that. Okay. I'm just checking every now and then to make sure that it's still connected. One day, Krishna decided to take his breakfast as a picnic in the forest. Thousands of gopas joined him with their numerous calves. Though their mothers decorated them very nicely, They again decorated themselves with fruits, flowers, peacock feathers, and forest minerals. They would steal each other's lunch bags and tease the owner of the bag by throwing it amongst themselves. They would imitate the buzzing of bees, sing like cuckoos, run behind the shadows of birds, dance like peacocks, jump like frogs, make faces like monkeys, and condemn their own echoes while seeing their reflections in the water. These boys who were playing with the supreme god Krishna in this way were not ordinary. They must have performed countless acts that are pleasing to God to have received this opportunity to play with Krishna now. Aghasura, the brother of Putana and Bakasura, fuming with anger and seeking revenge for their deaths, then assumes the form of a big python, 8 miles long. He lay down on the road opening, his mouth wide open like a cave, which the gopis thought as a nice scenic spot. They playfully entered Aghasura's mouth. Krishna wanted to stop them, but they had already entered. Invincible Krishna then entered Agha's mouth and enlarged himself within the demon's throat. Agha also increased his body, yet he was suffocated and his breathing stopped. His eyes popped out and his life air burst from the top of his head. Krishna then glanced at the gopas and calves who had collapsed by the poisonous fumes inside the demon and brought them back to life. From Agha's body, a glaring effulgence came out and entered Krishna's body. Thus, Krishna liberated Aghasura, who had intended to kill all the Vrajavasis. Confusion of the Creator. The demigods celebrated Aghasura's death in the higher planets. Hearing their songs, Lord Brahma wondered how could a little cowherd boy act so wonderfully. It was almost a daily routine for Krishna in Vrindavan to kill some demon who had often, curiously enough, appeared just before lunchtime. After killing Aghasura, Krishna brought the gopas and calves to the beautiful riverbank of the Yamuna and proposed to have lunch there. They all sat down to eat in concentric circles around Krishna, who appeared like the whorl of a lotus, while the boys appeared like its petals. They tasted each other's preparations, shared jokes, and laughed. Seeing the Supreme Lord's exchanges with the gopas, even the demigods were surprised. While the boys were enjoying thus, their calves went deep into the forest, being allured by green grass. The gopas realized this and were frightened. Krishna told them to continue their lunch, and he personally went out in search of the calves. Brahma, wanting to test the power of Krishna, stole all the boys and calves. Despite searching everywhere, Krishna couldn't find the calves and returned to the riverbank where he found the gopas missing too. Lord Krishna could immediately understand the deed and mood of Brahma. Then Krishna, by his supreme mystic power, expanded as all the missing gopas and all the calves, exactly replicating their bodily features and mannerisms. Thus Krishna, surrounded by his own expansions, entered the village of Vrindavan while playing on his enchanting flute. He entered the respective cowsheds as calves and homes as gopas. All the Vrajavasis had more affection for Krishna than their own children, and even their own selves. They had more affection for Krishna than their own selves. Previously, the elderly gopis of Vrindavan had desired to serve Krishna like Mother Yashoda. Now, Krishna fulfilled that desire by appearing in the forms of their children. All the gopis exhibited more love for their children now than ever before, and the increase of their affection knew no bounds. The cows saw their calves at Govardhan Hill and came running to see them and allowed them to drink their milk sumptuously. The cowherd men saw this and angrily moved the cows, but when they saw their own sons, they were also overwhelmed with parental affection and embraced them with great love. Seeing this uncommon exchange between the cowherd men and cowherd boys, and the cows and the calves, Balaram was astonished. Krishna then related to Balaram what had happened due to the mischief of Brahma. After having stolen the gopas and the calves, Brahma returned within a moment. That's 1 year according to human calculations. To his surprise, he saw all the gopas and calves just as before. He was totally perplexed. Krishna took compassion on Brahma and lifted the curtain of Maya. As Brahma looked on, all the boys and calves got transformed into four-armed Vishnu forms. Many Brahmas, Shivas, demigods, sages, moving and non-moving living entities were worshipping these Vishnu forms. Brahma was wonderstruck and practically fell unconscious. Krishna then withdrew the spectacular vision of his grandeur. Brahma could then see Krishna as a small Gopal looking for his friends and calves, just as 1 year before. Immediately, Brahma fell at Krishna's lotus feet and practically washed them with tears from all his 4 pairs of eyes. With his voice faltering and limbs trembling, he offered heartfelt prayers and said in self-reproach, "My dear Lord, just see my uncivilized impudence. I tried to test you. What am I compared to you? I am like a small spark in the presence of a great fire. I am a small creature enclosed in a pot-like universe. Unlimited universes come through Mahavishnu's bodily pores, just as dust particles pass through a window screen. Simultaneously, the entire universe lies within you. Thus, I am also inside you. Does a mother take offense when the child within her womb kicks her with his legs? I am like your son, and you are like my mother. I have taken birth from the lotus coming out of your navel, in your form as Garbhadakshay Vishnu. Considering me your servant and child, worthy of your compassion, kindly forgive my offense." Having begged pardon from Krishna, Brahma humbly expressed his heartfelt desire. "My dear Lord, I pray for the fortune of being engaged in your bhakti and counted as one of your devotees in any birth, in any species. How greatly fortunate are the cows and ladies of Vrindavan, the nectar of whose milk you have happily drunk in the form of cows and boys. My greatest possible fortune would be to take any birth in Vrindavan and have my head bathed in the dust of the lotus feet of any of its residents." Krishna was silent. Admitting that the opulences of Krishna are beyond the reach of his mind, body, and words, Brahma requested Krishna permission to leave and departed from there. Oh, Haribol Bhavatarani Mataji. Okay, I'm glad to hear that you're both together in Vrindavan again. You'll be leaving soon. Okay. An assembly of asses. After attaining Poganda, that's the age of 5 to 10 years, Krishna took charge of tending cows. So now he's not just doing calves, now he's doing cows. He enjoyed it very much. Krishna would imitate the singing of the honeybees, parrots, cuckoos, and swans. Krishna would sometimes massage the feet of Balaram. Sometimes he would take rest by putting his head in the lap of a gopa as the other boys massaged and fanned him. Once the gopas spoke to Krishna and Balaram. Not far from here is a forest named Talavan, filled with rows of palm trees with delicious fruits. But it is guarded by a demon named Dhenuka, who is surrounded by similarly powerful ass demons. Dhenuka eats even men alive. Even birds are afraid to fly over that place. No one has ever tasted those sweet-smelling fruits. If you think it is good, let us go there and enjoy those fruits." Daredevils. To please the Gopas, Krishna and Balaram went to that forest. Mighty armed Balaram shook a tree to rain the fruits that hung high. Hearing the sound, Dhenuka arrived at the scene and ran towards Balaram. He hurled his two hind legs at him, but Balaram caught Dhenuka and whirled him around, throwing him on the top of a tree. Because of the weight of Dhenuka's dead body, many trees fell down. When other asses attacked, Krishna and Balaram killed all of them. They killed all of them easily and threw them on the top of the trees. The demigods felt very happy, and people started joyfully going to Talavan thereafter. Subduing a serpent's pride and poison. One day, Balaram didn't accompany Krishna and the Gopas to the forest. On that day, the cows, every time Balaram doesn't come, stays home, something happens. On that day, the cows and the Gopas went to the Yamuna to drink water. As soon as they drank water, all the boys became lifeless. Powerful Krishna immediately revived all of them with his glance. It was Kalia, a gigantic and envious snake that had poisoned the waters of Yamuna, which boiled as a result. Even the birds flying across were affected, and all moving and non-moving creatures of the river had died. Krishna then tightened his waist belt to prepare for a battle with Kalia. He climbed the top of the Kadamba tree, jumped into the lake adjoining the Yamuna, and fearlessly sported in the waters. Intolerant, torrential Kalia arrived there and furiously bit Krishna on his chest, and wrapping him in his coils. Many bad omens appeared in Vrindavan, and the Vrajavasis felt that Krishna must be in danger due to the absence of Balaram. They ran to Yamuna in great haste, following the footprints of Krishna that had special marks like a lotus flower, barleycorn, elephant goad, flag, and thunderbolt. Reaching the Kalia lake, they were in intense grief seeing Krishna in the coils of Kalia. All the Gopas, Gopis, cows, bulls, calves in Vrindavan were devastated beyond console. The elderly Gopis held Mother Yashoda, wiping her tears and singing the glories of Krishna to keep her alive. Only Balaram was peaceful, as he knew the power of Krishna. Balaram stopped the cowherd men who wished to enter the lake. One second, I need to blow my nose. Powerful Krishna remained for some time in Kalia's coils, while tasting the love of the Vrajavasis that intensified in those moments of anguish. Seeing them at one point on the verge of death, Krishna immediately came out of Kalia's bondage and encouraged the Vrajavasis. Kalia's coils had been tormented by the expanding body of Krishna, and thus Kalia had released him. In great anger, Kalia raised his hoods high, breathing heavily. His nostrils appeared like vessels for cooking poison, and his eyes were like firebrands. Kalia moved swiftly, but could not bite Krishna. Krishna boarded on Kalia's hoods and began to dance in perfect harmony despite the serpent's constant attempts to bite him. The demigods played musical instruments as Krishna danced. Kalia had 101 prominent heads. Whenever a head didn't bow down, Krishna danced on it, making it red by the touch of his lotus feet. Kalia experienced extreme pain and misery. All the demigods worshipped Krishna with flowers. Krishna subdued all the 1,000 heads of Kalia, and Kalia finally took his shelter. Seeing him humbled, Kalia's wives, the Nagapatnis, approached the Lord along with their children and they desired their husband's liberation. They said, "O Lord, the punishment you gave Kalia is most appropriate. Your anger towards our husband is actually your mercy. We don't understand the reason for the supreme mercy received by Kalia. When a person gets the dust of your lotus feet, he becomes detached from the pleasures of this world. Kalia achieves that which is very difficult, though he is in the mode of ignorance and filled with anger. As a merciful master tolerates a servant's mistake, you should now forgive our husband." Lord Krishna released Kalia and told him, "Retreat with your family to the ocean. Garuda will no longer attack you because you have my footprints on your hoods." Kalia worshipped Krishna along with the wives and left for the sea. Yamuna was restored to its original condition by Krishna's mercy. Thereafter, Krishna came out of the lake, and all the Vrajavasis felt great pleasure and relief. Yashoda placed Krishna on her lap and cried torrents of tears as she repeatedly embraced him. With their eyes and hearts captivated by Krishna's sweetness, no one wished to leave that place. All the Vrajavasis decided to spend that night at the bank of the Yamuna, happily in Krishna's company. But during the night, suddenly a forest fire broke out and surrounded them. Krishna, however, immediately swallowed the forest fire and saved them. Okay, we're almost at the end of time, so I'll just read this one and then stop. A demon in the disguise of a friend. The hot summer season, not very pleasing to people in and just one thing about the Kalia pastime. My Gurudev said that that was the first time that Krishna was able to get up really close to the gopis and impress them all, and they were, even in public in front of everybody, they were able to stand, they were able to be very close to each other, and they got to just look at him directly without shame, without being in trouble or anything. A demon in the disguise of a friend. The hot summer season, not very pleasing to people in general, finally arrived. In Vrindavan, however, due to Krishna's presence, summer seemed like spring, with waterfalls, chirping birds, growing flowers, and abundant green grass. Krishna and Balaram entered the beautiful Vrindavan forest along with the Gopas and they played by whirling about, leaping, hurling, slapping, fighting, singing, and dancing. As they were enjoying in this way, a demon named Pralamba joined them in the form of a Gopa. He intended to kidnap Krishna and Balaram. Krishna detected this and called all the Gopas to play a game in which they divided themselves into two groups, led by Krishna and by Balaram. In this game, the winners would climb up on the backs of the losers who would have to carry them piggyback. Balaram's party won the game, and Krishna's party carried them on their backs. Krishna carried Sridham, and Pralambasura carried Balaram. Pralamba took Balaram far beyond their spot, but powerful Balaram became very heavy to put brakes on him. Pralamba resumed his original demon form with a gigantic body, blazing eyes, fiery hair, terrible teeth, and amazing effulgence of ornaments. Balaram seems to become a little frightened, apparently, but he later just struck Pralamba's head with his fist, and Pralamba fell down dead like a mountain crashing. The Gopas were ecstatic, and they all embraced Balaram with great affection. The demigod showered flowers on Balaram and felt happy because of the death of the sinful demon. Okay. I'm just going to read this, and then this will be a good spot to stop, because the next part is the Raslila. So, swallowing the forest fire. Once due to extreme heat in a forest of canes, suddenly a forest fire arose, about to devour all the moving and non-moving entities. The Gopas became fearful and approached Krishna and Balaram. Seeing the pitiable condition of his dear friends, Krishna asked them to close their eyes. The simple-hearted Gopas, who had full faith in Krishna, closed their eyes. Krishna then effortlessly swallowed all the fire. When the Gopas opened their eyes, they didn't see the there and became happy. Seeing the uncommon magic of Krishna, the Gopas thought that Krishna must be a powerful demigod. But in their innocent, friendly affection for Krishna, they thought, if Krishna is a demigod, we must also be demigods. Then all of them returned to the village, praising their dearest friends as he played his flute. Seeing Krishna's return, the young gopis felt. Seeing Krishna's return, the young gopis felt the greatest pleasure. His absence, even for a moment, was like 100 ages for the beautiful damsels of Raj. All right, so tomorrow we will read from this, the most mesmerizing flute song. We'll read about Venu. This is Venu Geet, right? Yes, we'll read about Venu Geet and Ras Panchadhyay and all that. This is a good place to stop. Yeah, so this summary is sometimes a little bit awkward in different places, and the English is a little bit awkward also. But I really like how it goes so fast, so that we can just get our bird's eye view of all the pastimes. So I'm going to continue reading from it. Hopefully, it'll only take a few days. Today I'll see how many days it will take. Now I have a good idea. I'll have a good idea because, yeah. And then after that, we will begin the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that you love it, Mr. Shri Mataji. Yeah, it's good. It's good to get a whole picture of the, just one sitting of so many pastimes. Okay. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishman Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishman Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishman Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupada Shata Rashata Shishman Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupada Shata Rashata Shishman Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityala Pravishta Nityala Pravishta Bhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nityala Pravishta Shila Satchirananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Padadash Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Nama Chai Shri Das Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala, Gora Mandala, Vraja Mandala, Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai, Shri Amuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavati Dasham Skanda Ki Jai, Shri Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Oh, Indira Mataji, can I share with... Actually, I don't have a file for the 11th canto yet. I mean, what I was gonna do is... what I was thinking to do is just purchase it, the Kindle book on Amazon, of Bhanu Swami's translation of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the 11th canto. But I also need to have a document so that I can prepare the readings, so that I can see the word count, because I can't do that on a Kindle book. I can't see the word count. So yeah, if anybody watching right now knows how to get the whole 11th canto on like a Word doc or something like that, please let me know. Please share with me also. And whenever I do get something, I can share it in our WhatsApp group. Alright, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna.